Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Clear here with a knife video, and today we have this very attractive Spyderco Native 5 in Fluted Titanium visiting for review. First thing I want to do is say thank you very much to the friend who sent this along so that I could take a look at it and share it with you guys. This is a knife that although, you know, I wouldn't buy this, and so it's really nice to be able to get a chance to handle it, check it out, and of course share it with you guys as well. The Native 5 is of course a really popular Spyderco, and one of the cool things, and I've got to say, I do appreciate that Spyderco does this. When they get a model that's really popular and a lot of people really like it, they will often offer it in a bunch of different colors, in a bunch of different styles. Right now you can find a Native 5 in, of course, the FRN, but you can also find it in the Blurple, so a G10. There are other versions of Native 5s in G10. There are even various versions and various colors available in the FRN handle. And then of course there's this guy, the Fluted Titanium, which is definitely the most expensive and the most impressive, I've got to say. This is really a gorgeous looking knife, very high end, and certainly this is for someone who loves the Native but wants something a little more high end. And I can tell you that this is a piece that the guy who is lending me this does not carry around, and so you can see it's in basically pristine condition. Okay, so there's not going to be any big surprises here, guys. The Native 5 is a very loved knife. I have reviewed the FRN version before, and that was a pretty positive review. It's a little small for me, but other than that, this knife is very good. So let's start off with size and weight, and that's one of the things that's a little different about this. Of course, the Native 5 is generally very lightweight. This one's going to be a little heavier, so it's almost 7 inches, 6 and 15/16 overall. The blade is 3 inches, but you can see because of the choil there, you end up with about 2.5 inches of actual cutting edge. The handle on this guy is 4 inches, okay? And that 4 inches in pocket only weighs 4.1 ounces. So even with the titanium scales, it's not an overly heavy knife. Now, I understand that if you compare this to, you know, the average Native in FRN, it's going to be quite a bit heavier. But I'm thinking of in terms of, is it a knife that the weight is going to put someone off from carrying it, and I certainly don't think that would ever be the case. All right, so let's start going through the details on this knife. The first one being the blade. So as I said, 2.5 inches of cutting edge, full flat ground, leaf-shaped blade that we're used to seeing from Spyderco. This is S35VN, and I want to see if I can show you the finish on the swedge. So you can see the satin grind here really looks nice, but then on this swedge, it's actually like a blasted finish, which really adds a little bit of interest and detail to that blade that I've got to say is pretty cool. Of course, this is the last one I had, the last Native I had was a spider edge, and this is a plain edge. No big surprise though, again with the blade. Spyderco's, as per usual, very usable blade. Now I've said one of the reasons I don't like small knives is because you have a smaller amount of cutting edge, and certainly that's true here. The other debate that you would have to have, for me, the comfort level that's afforded by that choil is worth it. Some would probably say, well, why not give, you know, the full 3 inches of cutting edge and sort of have the knife designed to be held back here. I can still get 4 fingers on the knife if I hold it without using that choil, but I definitely do prefer to get up on that choil. Many people have pointed out that the choil with the jimping back here is a pretty typical Spyderco thing, and I'll have a couple other Spydercos to compare when we get to that point. So yeah, blade, very functional, definitely a smaller blade. Now there is a benefit to that small size. That is, this would make a great sort of office carry or gentleman's carry because of the fact that it's a small, fairly non-threatening blade. You could pretty well open this up and use it just about anywhere. All right, so that's the blade, definitely a fan. Of course, S35VN, great steel, highly corrosion resistance, great edge retention. So no complaints there whatsoever. Lock-up and deployment on this, well, it's a back lock. Doesn't have the Boyd dent, and I don't think Natives do. If someone wants to correct me on that, that's fine. But Very nicely functioning back lock. Not as easy to close with one hand as some Spydercos, and that's pretty typical of back locks, because you've got to get your hand back here to engage the lock, and then there we go. If I do kind of whip it, I can get it to close. So not as nicely to not as nice to operate one-handed, but certainly doable. Very smooth, I will say. Definitely. Not that any Spydercos don't feel this way, but you know, you really feel a high level of quality when you actuate this lock. You go, yeah, this is a well put together knife with really tight tolerances. It just, you know, you can feel that just in the action of it. Smaller spider hole here, but it works just fine. This is the 12mm spider hole rather than the 13 or 14 that you see on some models, but it's a pretty small knife. The handle does obscure the hole just a little bit, but that doesn't bother me. And I don't think, no, I can't spider flick it. The tension on the lock bar is providing, you know, there's constant pressure here. So that's typical of a back lock. And so we're used to seeing back locks that aren't quite as easy to sort of flick open. What about the handle? Okay, oh, by the way, the pivot here does have a torque screw, so you could adjust that pivot if you wanted to, which is a nice touch that a lot of the more expensive versions of the Native have rather than the rivets. Okay, handle. Fluted titanium. Absolutely beautiful, guys. Check out the really, really attractive finishing on that titanium. Also, this is slightly contoured, so I'll see if I can, yeah, you can kind of see it there. See how it's nicely contoured? So I've got to say, the work on this and the construction of this handle is very, very impressive. Of course, the nice thing about the fluting is that not only does it look really amazing, but it does add some extra, you know, grip, which I've got to say I like. Also, of course, the, you know, typical Spyderco jimping. So this is a really, you know, unlike some smaller titanium knives, they can feel a little bit slick, or you can even worry about dropping them. This is really, really nice in hand. And again, no big surprise there, guys. Everyone knows the ergonomics on the Native are really, really well done. All right. So, oh, by the way, pocket clip there is still four-way repositionable. I don't know how I feel about that. Honestly, it would have, you know, it detracts, I think, a little bit from the beauty of this handle. Even if you just did left and right hand and left the front holes off, I feel like it would have made the knife look a little bit nicer. Not the end of the world, but just a little bit of a detraction for putting extra holes in that beautifully finished titanium. Let's go ahead and pull in some comparisons. Now I gotta say, guys, I don't have a lot for comparison here. I do have a couple small folders. There's the Cold Steel Tough Light. Now this Tough Light is a little shorter than the usual. I think I've told you this before in videos, but there's about this much of the blade missing here because I bent it into oblivion one time working on a door that I was installing. But yeah, the ergonomics on the Tough Light remind me certainly of the Native. Now it's a smaller knife, no question. Okay, so that's a fairly straightforward comparison. Really well-known knife and a much-loved Spyderco. This one also happens to be an S35VN. So there's your pair of two. That's how those two compare. Just kind of in passing, I would say this is the size of knife that I like to carry. So this is a knife that I can appreciate and it's absolutely well done, but I'm going to prefer a larger knife, generally speaking. What else have we got here? Well, this one's going to sort of stand in for the regular size Manix. This is, of course, the Manix XL, which really dwarfs this. But the Manix 2 is a great option from Spyderco. Really well done, and only a little larger than this. And, of course, sort of similar ergonomics, similar blade shape, as you can see. I don't have these examples here, but some pretty obvious comparisons would be like the Dice, the Domino, anything from the Sage series, and, of course, all of the other Natives. There's a bunch of different models available there. Let's see, I've got another Cold Steel, similar ergonomics, you know, with that nice finger choil, and I love the American Lawman. It's one of my favorite Cold Steel knives. Really, really well done. Let's see, and I've got one other knife here that sort of reminds me of this. Titanium handle, short, short knife. In fact, the handle size on these is fairly similar. This, of course, is the Curtis F3 medium, so I thought I'd throw that one in there as well, even though it doesn't exactly fit. By the way, this one's going to be going up for sale. You guys who know that I now have the large, not going to be able to keep both of those, so the medium is going to go on to someone else who can love it and use it. Overall, on this knife, the Spyderco Native with the Fluted Titanium, really, really nice, guys. Just a well-made knife, great ergonomics, and absolutely beautiful in that fluted titanium. Now, yes, you are carrying a little more weight, but still 4 ounces is not heavy. So unless you're really, really concerned, then of course, you know, go with one of the other options in the Native or one of the other great Spydercos that are out there. I've got to say that if this is a knife that's interesting to you, if this is appealing, I would not hesitate to buy one of these. You know, to me, it's a little too small, so I personally wouldn't. But if I liked 2.5 or 3 inch blades, this would definitely be really, really high on my list of recommended knives. And so absolutely great knife, no hesitation here, no complaints whatsoever. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks again to Tom for lending me this knife. Really, really appreciate that. We'll talk to you soon.